everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christina Flashen. I'm the CEO here at Pandium. I'm also the co-founder of the SaaS Ecosystem Alliance, which is putting on this event. Today, we're so excited to welcome this great panel of folks to share their experiences building and launching app marketplaces. So this is scheduled to go about 40 minutes. We'll save some time at the end for Q&A. So if folks want to throw some questions into the Q&A function in Zoom, we'll have a look at those. We also have some queued up questions that we'll handle first. But before we get started, let's do some intros. So it would be great if you could share your name, where you work, what your role is, and your favorite Halloween candy, just as an icebreaker. I will say my favorite Halloween candy is Twix out of the freezer. Asaf, you want to go?
Thank you. So my name is Asaf. I'm working at Wix for the last 5 years, starting the marketing division, the acquisition, managing partnerships, and heading the business development for the app market in the last 3 years. Wix, for those of you who doesn't know, is a website builder platform, enabling you to create anything you want online. You can build, manage, and grow your business online with Wix. And the app market team is mainly about extend our product offering. So that's what our marketplace does in general. And I would join your Twix shows, not because I know too much about Halloween, but because Twix was the first candy I got in my first day at Wix. So any new Wix employee get Twix in his bag. So cool icebreaker.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Cool. Bharat, how about you?
Hey, Christina, thanks for having me. So I work at LeagueApps. Our mission is to create amazing sports experiences for all. And, we've just created a product vision, which is to become the technological heart of youth sports communities, empowering them to provide sports opportunities to all kids. I've been with LeagueApps for 3 years. I run our LeagueApps Connect department, which includes our integration center that's powered by Pandium. And also I run our design shop team, where we've built about 650 websites for youth sports organizations to help them, promote themselves and improve their member experience.
What about your candy?
Reese's peanut butter cups were always my favorites. Although I will say my favorite houses to stop by were the ones where they would give like a $1 bill along with the candy.
Whoa, we didn't have any of those growing up. I gotta go wherever you're from. Ian, how about you?
Hey, Christina, thanks for having me. So I'm the program manager for the app marketplace at Aircall. Aircall is a cloud-based phone system that is designed for customer-facing teams. We're easy to use, and we connect with different tools such as CRMs, etc. And when it comes to my favorite candy, I don't have a sweet tooth, so I will pass on this one.
I see. I don't know if that's cheating, but we'll let it slide. Hugo, how about you?
Hi, Hugo. I've been at Stripe for 3.5 years, mainly focused on product partnerships, and recently launched the Stripe app marketplace with 50 apps. That made a bit of noise on the market. So excited to chat here. My favorite, so I don't really have a favorite candy. I often go more for the trick and the treat.
Oh, wow. If we had more time, we'd dive into that. But all right, so we got folks that don't like sweets, we have tricksters, and then we've got our classic folks. Love to see it. So folks that just joined us, we're just getting started here. This is going to be recorded, but feel free to ask any questions using the Q&A function in Zoom. And the format of this is really just kind of jump in for panelists. When you guys have thoughts, I might call in some folks, but we want this to be an organic conversation where everybody gets some value. So let's get started. So very high level here. What prompted the decision for your organization to start implementing an app center or an app marketplace? Anyone jump in? Ian?
Sure, I'll take it. So for us, we quickly realized that our product with that integrations, it had less value for our customers. So it really started with asks from our customers, especially around CRMs, so as to be able to automate workflows, create tickets automatically, instead of having your customer-facing teams doing all the grunt work. So we quickly realized that we would need to have an app marketplace to make that happen, an open API as well, so that partners who wanted to integrate with us could. And we were really inspired by what HubSpot was doing at the time. We wanted to have that platform ecosystem. So two main reasons in a nutshell. The idea was really to scale the number of integrations and also, of course, the use cases we could address. So for that, the marketplace was the best solution, and also give our future partners the ability to build integrations, hence again, the open API. Yeah.
Awesome. Brat, I see you're unmuted.
Oh, yeah. So I think for us, I'll share a little bit more about LeagueApps. You know, we primarily have a registration and payments platform. So this year we're very close to processing $1 billion annually on our payment platform. And so we have 5 million parents, we have their email addresses, we have their credit cards on file. And so for years and years, everyone else in the youth sports industry has been banging on our door saying, you know, can we do a marketing partnership? And they just wanted us to promote their product via a marketing partnership. And you know, thankfully, our leadership always said no to that. But eventually, the customers started banging on a door saying, "Hey, you know, all my customers register on your platform, and now the next thing I want to do is I want to get all that data into a college recruiting platform or into a player evaluation platform." And so when our customers started asking us, you know, how can you help me do this in a more easier fashion, we built our API. And we, at that point in time, a number of different companies were building integrations where they were pulling the data from LeagueApps, you know, with the permission of the mutual customer, and all those integrations were living on their products. And we didn't have a lot of control, we didn't have a lot of oversight, and we certainly weren't benefiting from revenue share potential. So that's around the time when Christina was introduced to our CEO, Brian, and we said, hey, this looks like a really powerful and easy way to launch our own integration center. So that's kind of our story there.
Yeah, and just because I know about your business, it's really interesting how you guys are like the hub of so much of this information. As you know, when I started working with you guys, I didn't know anything about youth sports and didn't know there was really technology that could underpin that. So it's a cool product. Asaf and Hugo, anything to add about timing and why do this and when?
Well, I really like what you two said. For us, it was mainly two things. One, we already had a set of what we called Stripe extensions, which allowed partners to come in and develop and integrate with Stripe. So we already had a base of a couple thousands of developers that were already surfaced there, but they didn't have a good way to market their integrations. And so that was the primary reason. The second reason, the first reason was like more technical. The second reason was that there was no good surface to market these internally. And so we launched the Stripe marketplace to be able to do this. And then tied to that, we allowed these integrations to live in the Stripe dashboard. So I guess those three things were kind of the primary drivers in terms of like a technical infrastructure and then how to surface them in the right places across the Stripe ecosystem.
Yeah, go ahead, Asaf.
Yeah, so I really find myself connecting to what you all said, because it's like any product cycle. It starts with user voice, so what your customers are saying, and then when you understand that there's a lot of things that we need to complete in our product, but we can't develop everything ourselves, and then we understand we need to release APIs and we need to start working with the developers. And then also what you said about like the beauty of the internet maybe is that you can integrate things quite easily together and provide one-stop shop. And there's a challenge to make one experience to everything. And having a marketplace allows you to have one experience for your customers or your users in the Wix realm. And that's why we decided to do that.
I think just to add on that, I think in general, the key part here is to figure out where the sweet spot is as a platform. Because you could open the marketplace, and obviously there's a lot of developers that come in and do many different integrations in many different areas, but there's some areas that are going to work better than others. And I think identifying that upfront pretty early was a critical, factor of success for us to lean in more with some areas and some categories than others.
Yeah, I can jump on that. I mean, what we did when I first started was we basically looked at the entire $75 billion youth sports industry here in America, broke it down into like 44 different categories. And then within each of those categories, we prioritized them based on a few different criteria. One, which were revenue potential for us, and then which ones were categories that would really strengthen our core platform and solve a problem that our partners needed us to solve because of what they're already doing with us. And then which were categories that were ones that we just wanted to own and build ourselves. And in those cases, it just didn't make sense to dive into an integration partnership when we know that that's not going to be long lasting. And then lastly, there's the ones we deprioritize. So it was quite a process, and we still are at ongoing basis are looking at several hundred different companies within youth sports, and then we also look at companies that we call the horizontal tech companies like a MailChimp or Google Sheets or QuickBooks Online, where those fill product needs and just solve a different problem for us, for our partners.
Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, and I was gonna piggyback off of that as well. Totally agree with Hugo here. For us, this is why we had such a focus on CRMs at the very beginning, because the value was so obvious for all customers. So it was very easy to decide on which category to focus on when you're voice.
Yeah, I'm curious, Hugo, just given like how Stripe is an API first product, like how you guys went about that assessment. And I'm selfishly asking because we work with a lot of companies as their partnership ecosystem is kind of maturing. The exercise for next year is trying to figure out like what are the partners that are strategic, like who do we really want to pay them more attention to, and anyone who has input on that, but especially the Stripe example is interesting because I'm sure you guys had a ton of folks building into you.
Yeah. Well, so I think the first thing is that we want this ecosystem, like it was previously, to be as open as possible. And so any developer really can come in and develop on top of the platform, the APIs that we have available. So there's no notion of like, it's competing with a first party product or so that's one thing. And then second thing was like we did see a lot of traction in certain areas more than others from that base of extensions that we had, and so we dove in quickly into those as a primary vector of engagement, and those are not new to anybody. A lot of it was accounting, data automation was a huge area also. We have CRM, support, marketing. I think those are the top categories that we went after that surface from both UXR and also the existing base of extensions.
Awesome. Anything else to add on this topic? And then we can move on to talking about outcomes. Oh, Asaf, go ahead.
Yeah, on top, like if we got into domain expertise and things like this, so also one of the positive impacts and one of the reasons we decided to go for upmarket is that we are a global company and we want to provide a solution with we want to make every Wix user feel like Wix was built for him in his own language, in his own country and everything. So by having an APIs, you can work with local shipping solution and local invoicing, syncing solution, things like this that are a must at least for stores. And this allows us to go global. And also Wix is a platform for any type of user, any type of business. So if you want to serve, for example, fitness or building wellness businesses, so you have to provide a staff management tool that calculate their payroll, things like this that we will never be the go-to to build this. And also if you want to go for like web professional and web agencies, so they already used to work with MailChimp, with Klaviyo, with HubSpot, so you have to integrate with such products. And so it allows us to go global and to serve a lot of different types of users and businesses.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point around the breadth and depth. I think we thought about it that also is like that you're going to have apps that perform or extensions that perform a very vast amount of different types of functionalities. And then you'll have extremely narrow integrations that perform maybe just one or two actions on behalf of a specific user, and to the point where we even have some users building this notion of private apps, so they'll do that just for their own needs internally. And so I think being able to cover all those different capabilities is important.
Yeah, I think it's such a cool sort of philosophical shift from 15, 20 years ago when it was the opposite, Asaf, of what you said, where every software company wanted to build everything. It was like, we're going to be excellent at everything that we do. And I think that is, a side effect, in my opinion, of like ERPs and sort of that transition. Now we're swinging hard the other direction, which is like get really good at a specific set of things and then partner with folks that are really great at the things that you don't want to be an expert in. So to follow on to what you guys were saying a little bit about the outcomes, what are some of the positive outcomes that you guys have experienced by implementing a marketplace?
I can start. Very obvious one, but revenue. I love this metric just because in this number particularly, because in North America, more than 50% of our revenue is driven by partnerships, not just influence. So of course, there's going to be channel in that as well, but the marketplace has played a huge role in that. Again, like the usual suspects, stickiness. We've identified and measured the fact that when a customer of ours installs just one integration, they're way more likely to stay with us. And I'm not gonna give you a number on this because the numbers varies and they tend to vary a lot based on the categories. But we do see increased stickiness for sure. Brand awareness as well. At the very beginning, especially having a NAP marketplace really helped make a difference, positioned us and had us think of ourselves as well and redefine us as a platform, which I think is important in terms of maturity for a startup. At the time, we had to start and build a lot of those integrations ourselves, but now with the app marketplace, for 2022 so far, I think we're around 40 new integrations that have been launched, and they were all built by partners. So those are some of the benefits we're seeing, and just to piggyback off of Asaf's last point as well, I think having that open API, that ability for potential partners to build by themselves is so big. Because you can address regional markets, of course. For example, in the US, we have this cool integration with REI Sift, which is real estate specific, very specific to this market. And we have a lot of different apps that are specific to more EMEA markets as well.
Yeah, and Hugo, I saw you unmute.
Oh, I was unmuted. I'm really interesting to hear that it's revenue. For us, it's not revenue first, at least not initially. We actually don't even have a native billing, which is surprising. But for launch, we're planning to do that next year. And why is because we first want to focus on the overall stickiness of the platform, making sure we have all the capabilities. I think that's a function of us having launched a couple of months ago, and also figuring out, what categories, like to our earlier point, we want to be focusing on and developing capabilities for. So I think those are kind of the more important pieces. It's kind of overall stickiness of the platform and capabilities. Like we're still in a kind of a pre-general availability phase where an app developer to come in today still has to apply, and we have an app review process. So it's not entirely self-serve before being able to launch. And so once that is released, then we'll be in a position to think more about the other features.
Yeah, I like what you said about sort of measuring things in different phases depending on how evolved you are as a platform. So for us, when we first launched a couple of years ago, we were really focused on, how long does it take to get an integration launched? How easy is it to get integration launched? And then we evolved to measuring adoption of integration. So, right now I'm just looking at the data. We've got almost 10% of all of our customers have adopted at least one integration. But when I break that down to my most strategic segment, it's almost 50%. So it's really exciting to see those levels of adoption. And then we also know that when partners, or we call our customers partners, which makes my life very chaotic in the partnership space. But when they do adopt an integration, our churn rates, which are already in the low single digits, just collapse even more. So, and then, certainly we are tracking revenue share and we're trying to track attribution and new customer acquisition, but we haven't been measured as a business yet on those, but of course we're trying to track those and trying to see both of those deliver the high value results.
Yeah, I'd agree on that, like the phasing and then nurturing what you have in terms of categories and apps first is pretty important, especially if you're, in our case, and when you're launching, we have these 50 that we're just honing in on. We'll be adding a couple over the next couple months also that we're excited about, and nurture those, and then incrementally continue on that path.
I totally, just to clarify things, I totally agree with that as well. I don't think we're chasing revenue specifically, but I'm just excited by the revenue that has brought us. I think at the start, like I said at the very beginning, was mostly answering demand from customers, making sure we're filling those gaps, those feature gaps. And organically, the more it grew, the more we saw revenue coming from them, and we started being better at tracking it. We can still improve for sure.
So I'll just join the party, say that we're also looking at we're looking also at revenues, but it's definitely not the main KPI we're chasing after. What the impact we see is about user satisfaction, user retention. For example, we see that a website that's selling something, like a website with a GMV, is a website that has more apps than a website without GMV. We see, like, if we count, like if you look at the average number of apps per selling site in different buckets of GMV, so the GMV goes higher, then the apps goes higher. It's very hard to say that someone is not churning because of an integration, but we do have churn users that mentioned that we don't have this or that integration. And there's a challenge of like what to bring. So like we are already self-served, any developer can come and join our market. It will go through a review process, like Hugo said, but if we stand at some standards, it will get there. That's one part of the equation, like those who can't self-serve organically. The other part is that strategically where we want to go, what apps we want to bring in, and we have to constantly being in a conversation with our head of product and understand what the users need and what impact each and every request has, and then prioritize and bring the next big thing. One impact we saw is that, like Ian said, we also bring things for our brand recognition. So working with big brands and making PR with them is something that does good to us and to our users and to our story. One more thing we do is that we bundle apps in our offering. So if you go to Wix package picker page, you will see that in some premium plans we have bundled this and that apps, and it allows us to increase conversion rate. So, like, again, it's very tough to say that only these broad make a user decide to choose Wix. Probably not, but when you do A/B testing and you see increase, so it has an impact. Yeah, that was my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think for you guys,
sorry, one more thing.
Oh,
by the way, one more thing we found with the app market is that when you do partnership with Wix, if it's a product partnership, we love to start with the app market, but sky's the limit. So you can start with the app market if you find a product market fit. If it's a complementary product, we can do something more deep. We can do a white label solution. We can provide a solution by Wix that is actually behind the scenes by a third party. We can invest in a company. We can acquire a company like we did with Rise AI or with Inkfrog or with Modalist that first had an app in the market and then we bought them. With Rise, it's a bit different. Like the conversation started about app market and we just understand the opportunity. And for those who don't know, Rise our gift card solution and Modalist is a dropshipping solution. And Inkfrog they build integration with other marketplaces like eBay, Amazon, Etsy, etc. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually like that idea of having an ecosystem come in and plugging in to areas where your platform doesn't do a good job or doesn't have the right solutions. And that's where we're also seeing a lot of traction. And to build on top of that, it's like also partnerships that allow you to scale in areas where you don't have an offering. Like, for example, Stripe doesn't have today an offering to file taxes, sales taxes in Europe. And so we have 2 partnerships on the platform today that allow our users to come in and actually do that directly integrated with the platform and the APIs. So that's a pretty exciting, build on top of Stripe type of capability that's enabled through this marketplace.
Awesome. And kind of to follow on to that a little bit, and I'm interested because we have a really interesting mix of folks here where your industries have different levels of maturity in terms of the concept of ecosystem. I would say e-commerce, Wix is probably one of the more mature, like the idea of an ecosystem and partnership has been around forever versus like, I think sports tech may be on the cutting edge of this. And Bharat, you guys might be one of the first ones to really embrace this. So I'm curious how the launch of this marketplace has changed your go-to-market activities, if at all. Like, how is your sales team doing this? How are you guys advertising?
Yeah, I mean, I could take that one. I think we spend a lot of time just getting a few integrations built and making them effective and doing internal training, but we really held back on large go-to-market around our integration center until we had like a nice portfolio that we were really proud to talk about. So now we've got, 9 integrations that are live, and the ones that are interestingly the most high demand are like MailChimp and QuickBooks Online and Google Sheets, where people are already using these platforms and they're able to bring their data from one to the other. So, we're now kind of writing talk tracks and running panels like this for our customers and kind of embedding the idea that the integration is just it allows us to say that we have a bigger platform that solves more of their problems. So it's hotel booking is another one. I mean, hotel booking is a $13 billion industry just in youth sports alone. And it's like now becoming table stakes to have that be part of our solution. So, we're going to probably rewrite our talk tracks and just really brag about this, how it's it is embedded within LeagueApps and it's part of our solution.
Awesome. Hugo, anything to add there? I see you unmuted.
Well, I think it depends on the segment you're going after. We are today very focused and have been for launch on startups and SMBs for launch. And I think that has therefore kind of dictated how our go-to-market function has been going. So we're very much more focused on self-serve and plugging in for that segment than enabling go-to-market activities on top of that. I think this probably makes the most sense. That when we are going to go after more enterprise or growth segments, I think there will be a lot more of those motions that will come in. But for now, we're more focused on that self-serve segment.
Ian, Asaf, anything from you guys on that? We've got a couple questions in the chat that we can cover as well, but I'm not sure if you guys have thoughts. No.
So yeah, just to make sure you ask about the impact on go-to-market, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So on our side, it's just I think that making a decision of what website builder do I want to use for my website, or WordPress, or any other type of open system. So I think there are so many things you need to consider to get a decision, and I think that Wix is focused on main pillars, and upmarket is maybe more related to web professional and web agencies that they know that that's their job to build websites for their clients. So they're really into what apps do I need and what other complementary products I need at the top of a website in order to run a successful business. And for them, for our salespersons, it's part of their speech, and we know how to, and we know also how to guide users in support to go to the app market, find these solutions. Sometimes we do PRs with our partners, depends on the app and the reason, the domain, and everything. But I think that the market strategy of Wix is broader than the app market. in this.
Go ahead, Ian.
A bit similar to what everyone said, a bit similar to what Bharat said. For example, we do run some of our panels to this. We also bundle sometimes with partners, or at least make special offers available for the marketplace. But what I'm working on mostly right now and still trying to figure out and to crack is how to do those kind of opportunities with the long tail of app partners and make sure that they also get that brand recognition, those opportunities to go to market with us, and making sure that we can scale that. So happy to keep talking about that after the panel with some of the panelists here or the public.
Yeah, and definitely throw it into the Slack channel too. If folks have thoughts, and there's, as mentioned, we have folks from all different kind of stages and sizes of company, and also maturity in ecosystem. I'm sure somebody has talked about this before. So we have a couple good questions with the remaining 6 minutes. The first one here from anonymous attendee is around paid versus free apps. So what are your kind of stances on paid versus free apps? And I'll caveat that with saying that it can be paid, like actually paying for the integration. It can be paid having to buy the partner application from that marketplace. Paid apps is sort of a broad, nebulous term to me. And they're also curious about how you guys feel about DevRel roles, so developer relations roles, and how important is that when you're building out your partnership ecosystem? Hugo or Bharat? I see both.
Sure.
I'm default unmute, so.
Well, I'm just gonna keep calling on you every time then.
That's okay. I think developer relations critical. We have put a lot of accent on that, especially as a new entry player in this market, and so we have both a technical team that can lean in. We have like Discord channels, and obviously we have like business teams that can lean in and help scope out apps in the right areas of development. So really excited about that. On the business model, I think the broad thing here for us is like flexibility. What we've done up until now is like just a huge amount of flexibility. The partner can do whatever they want. We are pushing more for freemium models than anything initially, but over time we understand that there's going to be more revenue-oriented apps that they're going to pop. But at large, just flexibility for whatever developers think is best.
Yeah, and I can dive into that. I mean, on the concept of paid versus free apps, there's also a third category, which is the revenue generating apps. And so, the two reasons that we try and do this are to basically help our customers do less work or make more money. So if we can find the right integration partner that allows them to bring a product to market to their customers, and there's a rev share, at this point, it becomes a three-way rev share between our customer, us, and the app partner, like that's the sweet spot. My next favorite one is where the partner has a freemium model. So I just get to tell every one of my prospective customers that when they purchase LeagueApps, they get this entire suite of systems for free. And then maybe there's an upsell model for that. And then I have a revenue share of that. So those, I prefer those. And then, finally, in terms of free ones, we made the investment in building out, like I said, MailChimp, QuickBooks Online, and Google Sheets, because they're so valuable, and I can obviously do so much more with those than I could do if I tried to build them into my product. On the dev relations role, I mean, we hired a developer relations person. She's incredible. And one thing that we realized was in the youth sports space, many of the developers were not as ready to build integrations as we had hoped. So she actually transitioned into more of just being a product manager, overseeing the launch of integrations. But I mean, I think eventually we'll scale up and kind of pivot back, and then having a developer relations person who really understands the API, really understands how to help developers get integrations built is absolutely critical.
Awesome. Asaf, Ian, oh, sorry, I see you, Asaf.
Ian, you can go first.
No, I was just going to say that I didn't have much to add to that, and I totally agree with what was said, but there was another question as well I was interested in the chat. But Asaf, go for this one.
Cool. So just about the relations, and by the way, my answer is like Hugo, that we want to provide flexibility and we want the developer to decide whatever they want. And something very important to mention is that when you build an app marketplace, you have two clients. You have your users in at least in the Wix case, you have the user who have the website, and you have the developers. Your developers are also your users from a product perspective. Like business-wise, they're a partner of us, but for the product and developers, they're clients. So we have mainly two products. One is the app market, which is what users see, where they see the apps and categorize the whatever and install and everything. And you have the developer center. That's where a developer connects his website to Wix, do authentication and manage reviews and payouts and stats and everything. So there's a whole product around working with developers. Our dev relations include, I think, almost 20 people. Most of them are integration managers that give dev care support. So it is a world when you have hundreds of apps. It's something good to take care of.
All right, Ian, it sounds like you had a question, or you saw a question that you liked in the Q&A. We'll lightning round it. Let's do it. You have to read it though. Oh, I think you're muted, Ian, sorry. No.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Have you ever tried to get into other companies' app marketplaces? I just specifically want to answer this one because I think it really ties back into what we were saying before, which is how maturity will make you prioritize different things. And at the very, very beginning, of course, we're trying to get into other partners' marketplaces, and we're the ones building those integrations. I mentioned HubSpot earlier. We put a lot of effort into HubSpot, Salesforce. It's paid off. Today, HubSpot has invested in us, and we're #1 in telephony under App Marketplace. So that's for a plug. But what I'm trying to say here is really, it kind of grows organically. You will start at the beginning identifying which categories you want to focus on, and you will try to get on those marketplaces of bigger partners, bigger companies. And once you get enough traction, start building your own marketplace and see the other the reverse coming. So I think it's pretty interesting. And
yeah, plus one to that. I think it always goes back to how flexible your technical infrastructure is. Having the ability to have an integration live on the third-party environment or your environment, agnostic of where it starts from, I think is the best way to go. We've built our platform that way. The base of an app really can be ignited from anywhere. It doesn't have to live on the Stripe side. So that's a really important thing to note.
Yeah, and I think, Ian, you're sort of alluding to the idea that there's like a big fish and a little fish in these relationships almost every time. And you can be the big fish and the little fish, right? Like
100%.
I'm sure you guys at Aircall are the big fish to a lot of your partners, but you're the little fish to HubSpot. So
we're still, yeah, it's still.
But it's cool to see that, and as we've been doing this work, as I've been doing this work, seeing companies of varying sizes being the big fish. It's all about like the data and the value that you have versus like, you know, the size or age of the company.
Exactly.
And I think we are at time. Anyone have any final thoughts about this or anything else before we wrap?
Yeah, maybe there was a question here about rev share. So what we see now in the market is that more and more companies are reducing the rev share or eliminating it for 1 year or so. We also did that in the beginning of this year. We went from 70-30 rev share plus 6% processing fees to 100-0 rev share in the first year, and then 80-20. We saw Shopify, I think, they have $1 million, first $1 million fee per year, and
Yep.
we saw Apple takes it down, and I think Microsoft took it down. So yeah, the thing about that market is like we said, it's more about the product and retention and satisfaction and stickiness. Then comes the revenue as a result, not from the rev share.
Cool. I think, again, we are at time. I want to be respectful of everyone's calendars. Thanks to our panelists for joining us today. We didn't even get through all the questions, which is awesome. Maybe we'll do another one, but also please, if you're not already a member, check out the SaaS Ecosystem Alliance at saasecosystemalliance.com. We've got a great Slack channel there, and we'll also have this recording and the blog post to go with it here shortly. Again, thanks so much to all the panelists. Really appreciate you guys spending the time with us today. Thanks for everyone for attending. And we will see you guys out there. Enjoy.